Our next keynote speaker is Guillaume Credoz, CEO of Bits of Two Atoms. With over 30 years of experience in digital fabrication and architect, Guillaume will take us on a journey through his practice and explore how failure can fuel innovation. Please, let's welcome Guillaume.
Hello, everyone. For 15 days every month, I'm a designer in France, and for 15 days, I'm an architect in Beirut, Lebanon. This gives me twice more opportunity to fail than if I had a single job. So I will have plenty of content to share with you, as I was selected for my capacity to fail and go through it. So you'll see that I developed over the time many strategies about failure and how to take it on the good side and overcome it or use it. And I will use plenty of examples of my work in order to show you what this looks like. So first, it has to be built in. You have to know you're going to fail, and you have to make room for it. You have to prepare it. So you have a space to do that, especially when you're doing architecture. So this is my latest building completed. It's a Novotel and Adagio in Abidjan, in Ivory Coast. This is a 90 million euro project. So this is not really the place where you need to fail, especially in front of your client. So that's why what we do, well, first, you see, as any architect, we do very detailed drawing, trying to plan for everything. But the truth is that you cannot plan for everything. So usually on a construction site, a lot of bad things happen. But a way to do it is to work with scale models. You see on the left, you see this is a scale model at 1/4. So every floor is about this high. And we've been doing it inside of our workshop, casting plaster instead of ultra-high resistance concrete that we use for the final one. But we had the chance to do the construction one first time in our office, far from the client judging eyes, in order to be able to fail and to make it better. And when it came to the site and the finished building that you can see on the right, we were prepared. We were twice better because we'd been failing indoor before in our office, and we were able to get better on site, where things are complicated because it rains, the sun, there's a lot of stuff, people are late, etc. At least in the contained environment of my office, I was able to fail, understand why I failed, and also see opportunities to make the design better as we were fabricating it. So this is quite important to have this space for failure, and we do it for almost everything. Everything that looks a little bit complicated when we do some stuff which is a bit out of the box, then we will build a scale model, starting from a small scale to something which could be one-to-one. We can build for the first time in our workshop, because my workshop is 2,000 meters square with 200 as an office, and the rest is full of machines to be able to cast concrete, work wood, weld steel, cut steel, etc., to do that. So these failures, then we use them, and you can see here the scale model. This is just one single floor of this building in Jeddah. This is during the construction. And what you can see on the right is the rendering of it, the one with that dark blue sky that doesn't exist in Jeddah, to say the truth. It's a nice sky as well, but not that deep blue. In order to succeed during the construction and manage this, while it's a relatively complex elevation whereby every slate is programmed depending on what's happening inside of the room, the needs for view, the need for natural light, the depth of the room. We created a code to do that, to solve this equation of the 6 positions you have on the thousands of tiles. We still had to do one very basic scale model in order to do that. So that's how it kind of succeeded to make this building. So I organized it around me, so even my failure would have the least consequences possible. And when I talk about consequences, when we fail, usually we have to trash our fail, and then we have a big carbon footprint impact, and we lose material, etc., etc. So we forbid ourselves to work for this with materials that we couldn't recycle. And what I'm holding in my hand here, and what you can see on stage around me, and at the entrance, is made entirely from recycled trash, this one from Beirut, recycled polycarbonate. Inside of this 1,800 meters square of workshop, there are many of those big robots. They come from the automotive industry. They have a first life there in Germany. They work a lot for 20,000 hours, and then the first world trashes those beautiful machines, and then that's where we buy them back, and we turn them into other machines. This one, we turned it into a 3D printer. We made it carry a very huge extruder in which we put pellets, so crushed recycled material, and the machine will melt it and will draw in space my drawing. This is how it works. It's quite simple. I do a drawing on the computer, and the robot will follow my line and leave behind it a trace of molten plastic that will weld on the previous line, and all this, when it cools down and solidifies, will create an object, which indeed is my drawing. It's my line, but that becomes a solid object. It's a solidified drawing. The principle is as simple as this. After, you need to build a lot of stuff, program, machines, etc., to make it happen, but that's the logic of it. And so this logic allowed us to do this one that we have on stage, which is in fact a DNA crossing of two typologies of chairs. You know the rocking chair, you know the conversation chair, and we were able to put those two designs together into one single line that starts on one end on the object and end up on the other end, and that it's completely created by that machine. So this is what I do when I'm on my 2 weeks of being a designer. I forage for material. So here you see those water gallons that are used to distribute water in offices. They are made from polycarbonate, which is the same material as your glasses or the headlight of your car, as well as helmet for astronauts or the glasses for the windows for the planes. And we gather it, we crush it, and then we turn it into objects. Here you see a lamp or a chair using that reclaimed robot. And the good thing is that we fail a lot while doing this, and you can see some of the most horrible failures I could find and show you. But this is okay, because first it's happening at least indoor, somehow. I'm not facing the client when I do this kind of things. And also it has almost no economical or environmental impact, because I'm going to recycle all this, we crush it again, and we print it again. So it's like a free eraser, and I can start again, I can do it again and again and again, until I get something which is completely ergonomic, which is completely balanced. I'm able to take more stakes and more difficult things to do within one design, because I can reiterate it many times. 3D printing doesn't require a mold to work plastic. I just have to change a little bit my drawing, print again, and then I'll try again. I crushed, I recycle, I do another one. So there's a big room which is planned from the start for failure into the process, which will allow me to get better and do better designs. So this chair, for example, eventually we did it several times until we gave up on it because it would be too heavy, so it's a dead end. But at least our trail, our mark, our footprint for doing this is very lightweight. We've been recycling most of them. I mean, you've seen a few ones on scene here for this chair. When we hit that spot, which was a difficult one, and we saw that we were stuck because of the weight, we looked backward and we looked at Tonne. This is a German lord who in 1850 created his own factory inside of a forest, a beechwood forest, and he made beechwood chairs, and he did them like Ford did for the car. In his team, there was a team to do the front leg and a team to do the back right leg, etc. He subdivided the work, and he used the vapor of water in order to bend the wood and create a very large catalog of chairs, and he's been selling millions of chairs. He's been the first one to do industrial design. For us, industrial designer, it's a bit like the day zero of the creation of industrial design. So we went back to this, and we said, okay, we are using a thermoplastic, we are 3D printing it, we can heat it again, and then we can do like Tonnet, we can form it after the print, and we can do an assembly, because the success of Tonnet was the fact that he could ship 36 chairs into 1 cubic meter. At that time, it would cost in Europe the price of 1 good bottle of wine to have a chair, and most cafes, for about 100 years, were using Tonnet chair, which was a great success. So we went back, looked at, as we were becoming craft people after the Industrial Revolution, we went back into history in order to do this first assembly chair. We moved gently within this, following, of course, failing, doing another one, until we reached a potential success, and we started even to, you see, look at, this one is made from recycled cars headlight, so polycarbonate, and we do the color manually in order to make it disappear within the greenery, and until we reached this level. And then we said, okay, we were able to do a Tonnet chair, to rewrite it. You see, even the part that is woven is done now with 3D printing, and so this is 100% made from recycled plastic, and it's 100% recyclable, so, and dismantleable. So that we were happy at this point, and we said, okay, we can do a folding chair. That should be even easier. And you can see a line of failed prototype on the left of the screen. It didn't happen to be easier. We are 25 now in terms of raw generation of prototype, and it's still not approved by me. I mean, I could approve myself to get rid of it, but no, I can't. It's still not good enough. But the problem is that as we are trying with prototype, we're also adding new stakes and new wishes in order to succeed. We want it to stay vertical by itself when it's folded, which we found would be something very interesting. You could fold several, and then you could take them together, which is adding another difficulty to the design and making our life even more complicated. But we like it, I'll tell you the truth. Otherwise, we wouldn't be designers if we didn't like to dig into those problems. So from there, we went to do a bit the same story. We took the aluminum group chair from Ray and Charles Himes. You can see it in the back behind the orange one. And we rewrote this very famous classic of office furniture. Here, the take was interesting because we did that in France. And after we did that office chair made from local recycled material, we looked around and we said, okay, who's still doing office furniture in France, in the industry? And we found just a few guys who say, are you doing it from local material? And there was no one. And from recycled material, there was no one. So finally, we're reindustrializing France in a kind of a crafty way, redoing this kind of things. That was quite interesting. So that's typically my day. I draw a sketch in the morning. I pass it before noon on the computer, and I draw my line. Then in the afternoon, the robot weaves them into space, leaving that trace of molten plastic. And then I sit on it on the afternoon and say, okay, tomorrow I'll make it better, until I succeed doing it. We learned it. The previous chair is an evolution of this chair, and then it became this. And we learned about the assemblies because, as you can see, as you saw, we use also some extraneous elements. The kind of ski, which are the legs, are made from recycled aluminum. They come from cooking pans, which I inform you, in case you don't know, if you cook into aluminum cooking pan with heat and salt, you're going to get Alzheimer. So don't do it. Trash your cooking pan, as everybody is doing in Lebanon, and then we'll get them, and we'll turn them into legs for chair, so that we use recycled plastic and recycled aluminum. So here you see us trying to do a very big lamp, like a bedside lamp, in order to furnish a library in France. And it's perilous, it's difficult. We even considered it to be a failure, even if they're still used. And you can see the trajectory there is between version 1 in green and version 5 in orange, which I start to be satisfied with. I think version 6 should be okay, unless we want to do even better. But so we can do that as with no impact because we plan for that big room for failure, and we know that we are not using a material that would create trash. We will just recycle it. So we erase our failure, in fact, and turn it into something better. And usually we don't do lecture about the failure. We keep this hidden, etc. But no, that's the point of today. So we try to also say that what we fail is a success. That's the best way. You can disguise your failure in a success. That's the magical way of dealing with a failure. And one of it is when we have many technical failures with the print, getting very rough or ugly textures, the print falls, the lines fall away due to gravity, etc. A lot of those things happen. And in fact, we turned it into a kind of a success. We did the first Chesterfield sofa for public space, doing this. And just by doing a crisscross, you're never supposed to cross a path. The robot should not cross itself when we 3D print. This is a huge mistake. But we turned it into a special code that just does that. So it just crisscross and make this rich texture for this kind of public space. So we're exploring it. We're doing even more of it, and we say, no, this is normal. That's always what we plan to do. So it's passing through. And this is the same for this chair, which evokes a furry skin of animal over a large chair. It started with mistakes in the code and weird erratic printing, and gently it turned into an object which is like wishfully having this texture outside. You can see the front of the chair is relatively smooth and transparent when you sit, but the back is covered with those hairy buckles which are falling through gravity, and that made entirely from a recycled car's headlight and look like an Italian glass work, and it's quite beautiful. You can see it from close. That's what it looks like. So this is a lush failure somehow. So even when we fail, it's a step. On the left, you can see a competition we did for Abwab, for Dubai, and we miserably failed the competition. But the idea stayed in mind, and we proposed it again, because we are stubborn, so we propose again, until it got into a success. And now it's a labyrinth made from recycled water bottle in a castle in France. Very, very romantic and very nice. So this failure led us to this, and we started to do more assemblies. As I told you, we started with those monolithic design, which were too heavy, and then we started to do assemblies. And eventually, we won another competition in Australia and built this geosphere with all the teams. You can see all the team from Beirut there standing on the structure. And we did another one for Dubai recently, for MAN, a few months ago, which is, you can recognize the recycled aluminum connectors. And it's a cell structure. It's developed by an algorithm, and you've got those triangular shells which are populated to create the volume. They are all unique, but we really don't care because it's the code who sends all the information to the robot. I don't need to know any dimension nor angle. It's all produced automatically through our little script to do this. And this led us to here and today. You've passed through the gate to come into this theater. It's this gate that we designed, and that is also a cell development, every cell being 3D printed from recycled plastic, and then assembled together, held together by those connectors that keep it in tension, a bit like a fabric, and that allow to have this complex shape of an arch, which is opening towards the outside and funneling people into Tanween. I should make a few breaks because I talk too much. So. That was one. I'll try to make another one soon. Okay, and eventually we have to design beyond failure itself, which is also interesting. We ventured into a small deal with our bank. You know, the bank in Lebanon completely failed miserably and stole everybody's money recently. But they still produce a lot of paper paperwork. So we managed to get all the used paper that they shred very well because they don't want us to read any number on it. So we recycled that paper, and using flours of rice, flour of rice and flour of wheat, we created a paste into which we've put some seeds and some nutrients. We did 150 tests for about a year and a half, which means 150 failure about for a year and a half, in order to reach a level whereby we've been able to create furnitures that would sustain indoor for hundreds of years, like would a book in your bookshelf, but a chair that would dissolve, fall, compost during a winter, and in spring, the seeds inside that we've put carefully and the nutrient will bloom, and then instead of polluting, when you throw your chair, you would regreen the planet. So we are trying to turn this bad movement that people are doing. We're not even trying to educate them or whatever. We're trying to turn it automatically into something positive. Let's say it's in human nature. So the funny thing about this is that eventually we had a few recipes that were too strong and that the chair would resist the winter. It would not collapse with the rain. So we had to go backward and make the thing less solid, which was completely unexpected and nerve-wracking for me to make it less strong. But we eventually succeeded and were able to do a few furnitures like this using this material, which was quite interesting. You can notice the difference of color between the front and the back of the chair. It's a naturally occurring reaction of some dew and some mold inside of the paper during the process. It's not even something we designed. It's something that the process made through the thing. Failing is happening often in Lebanon. At some point, we did the design, the one that you can see on the left, which is just a switch that you cannot keep in the middle. Between stay and leave, it would lit one of the two words. And as the state was crumbling and everybody was facing this question, was forced to face this question, we put it into life and in real by doing this. And we also 3D printed from local clay a small piggy bank with a handle. So Lebanese who had no more money because the bank has closed, and that's just the money that value was divided by 100, could travel with this, with all they had in their pocket, and break it when they reach to try to survive from this money. So this is very ironic and very critical design, but it was interesting on all this failure to build upon and try to resist. And it's a bit what we did for Lebanon. This is on Martyr Square during the Thawra, during the moment of the revolution. The protesters got at some point that there had no more batteries in their loudspeaker, no more electricity, and they were reduced to take stone and bang it into metal pole to get heard by the government. That's why we created this very large loudspeaker, passive, that needs no energy, that cannot be stopped, for women to express themselves into public space and shout what they had to shout to the government in public space using this device. So a kind of a non-failable device. We had to do the same also to keep people warm in public space, so they keep occupying public space to demonstrate. And we created those wood sobias, those wood stoves, which were entirely made from laser-cut parts, held together with wedges called clavets, which is a technique from medieval time. There's no screw, nothing. They were assembled with the protesters. They were watching over and making them run through the cold nights in order to get everybody together and have discussion circle to talk about potential futures of Lebanon as it was and still is in very difficult times. So, but failure could be a challenge. And this is a bit how I would finish my talk. It's when as everyone in this room, I've been having some discussion with some AIs. I threw some word, I get some images. I threw some word, I get some images. And very intriguing, very fascinating, very nice pictures. But as you understood, I have a workshop. I'm not someone who's just making pictures and plan. I'm someone who's making things. This is why I fail so much, because I'm actually making the thing, not just designing them or planning them. So matter resists to what we want it to become. And when I look at those fascinating pictures, I want to go forward this And I know that for the moment, I'm not really able to do it. They look more like a very big potential failure to me. I'm failing to make it, but I have all the tools for that. I told you, I have this large workshop filled with robots, about almost a dozen of them, doing a lot of things, and I know I'm going to get through. So this me failing at this is a motivation. I will fight with all my aim to get there and be able to react and see where I could go while I see all those interesting stuff. And I will try to get through and manage to build some of those, or things which derive from this discussion with AI, using all what digital fabrication can do, and all traditional fabrication as well, because I know both, and that the point is a blend of both in order to do that. That was my second little break. Just to say you goodbye and to wish you a lot of failures. Huh? The one that will teach you more than any success in the future. That's it.